Really not all that long ago, Mary Barra promised that General Motors would beat Tesla in electric car sales in 2025 in North America. So this year for GM is going to be spectacular. Absolutely mine. I think General Motors will probably triple their EV sales in North America. That's what they need to do for Mary Barra to hit her numbers, which she did promise on Oprah. I'm honestly, guys, this year for GM, it's going to be spectacular. I mean, really, EV sales tripling this year. I mean, EV sales did increase by 50% this year for GM, which was a fantastic result, but triple this year. Tesla, my goodness, you guys are in big trouble. Guys, I think General Motors are in a lot of trouble over the next few years globally in terms of their car sales. They will shrink. They are in a position that I think people don't realize they're in. But at this point in time, you've got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, let's be frank. Mary did not lead GM to selling, what were they planning on, 500,000 vehicles, EV sales per year in 2024. But still, the revival of GM's electric car sales was pretty damn impressive. Here are the numbers behind it. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching The Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. At the start of 2024, things really weren't looking that great for GM's EV sales. But by the end of the year, they'd sold or at least delivered 114,000 vehicles. Electric vehicles. Fully electric, not plug-in hybrids, just 114,000 fully electric vehicles. Personally, I'm a big fan of what they've done this year. In particular, I really like the Silverado electric pickup truck. But also, let's be honest, guys, that's, it's probably more of a niche seller at this point in time. But the Chevy Equinox EV for $35,000 US qualifies for EV incentives of $7,500. You want to go buy one today, most people can get one for $27,000. That's a good deal. I don't care who you are, that's a really good deal. And as a result, GM sales are going to continue rising over now, probably as we speak. But as a result, also in the last 6 months of the year, General Motors really did. They put the hammer down and they started selling a lot of electric cars. It was one of the best revivals we've seen in a long time. Now, Inside EV's crowned Mary Barra as their Person of the Year. I'm not really sure what she did to it to get that. Anyhow, Mary Barra, go you. General Motors said on Friday that its overall US sales increased by 4% to 2.7 million units, which is its highest total since before the pandemic. So as you can see, about half of General Motors cars sold worldwide are in the US. This is a bit of a point for concern. I mean, some people could say, I've made the same point about BYD. They're very, very heavily reliant on China. GM is not quite as heavily reliant on the US as BYD is on China at this point in time. But BYD are increasing their sales overseas, whereas GM sales overseas are decreasing. That said, GM is doing very well in America. EV sales were the key reason. They increased sales by 125% in the fourth quarter versus the fourth quarter of 2023, meaning the GM's EV sales in 2024 were up by 50% versus 2023. They sold a record 114,432 vehicles. And impressively, General Motors, they had 10 EV models on sale by the end of the year, including vehicles from Chevy, from Cadillac, and from the GMC brands. Now, to be fair, General Motors did say that in 2022, they would have 18 different electric car models available. 18 in 2022. So 10 in 2024. It's not quite what they were saying they would do, but it's still, I think, a really good numbers. And now you've got a fair bit of choice. If you're a GM fan, you've got a fair bit of choice when it comes to EVs. And keep in mind, we're not including the Honda Prologue, which is also a GM EV as well. The Chevy Equinox EV was the best seller. It had 28,847 sales, which is incredible considering most of those sales were in the last 3 months of the year when Chevy sold 18,000. That's staggering. 18,000 in the last 3 months of the year for the Equinox EV. The most affordable EV in the US is pretty damn good. It's got more than 300 miles of range, well over, and it starts at $35,000. Ends up coming down in price to $27,500. Now that's assuming you pay retail, which maybe you've got a good relationship with your dealership. You might be able to pay a little less than that, but $27,000, guys, for the Equinox EV is legitimately a very, very good price. Next was the Cadillac Lyriq. and that sold 28,402. 8,000 of those were in the fourth quarter of the year. Cadillac's lineup is getting larger with the Escalade IQ. 670 of those were sold in the final month of the year, 670, which is a pretty good result. They also have the Cadillac Optiq and the 7-seater Vistique, which will hit, that'll be on sale pretty soon. So there's quite a few different models here, guys. A pretty impressive lineup. Chevy Blazer, pretty amazing numbers from some die-hard GM fans here. When I say die-hard GM fans, they sold 23,000 of the Blazer EVs in 2024. And the reason I say that is simply because of the fact that there were so many problems with the Blazer EV. There was just a litany of problems. People talk about Tesla recalls, but come on, let's be honest, guys. I don't think there's ever been a vehicle reviewed in history in America that's had as many problems as the Blazer EV had. There was 58 different problems that the Blazer EV had. Apparently they're all pretty much fixed, which is great news. Now, GMC actually sold 14,000 Hummer EVs. I can't believe they sold that many. That's a combination of pickups and SUVs. Considering they started at $100,000, there's a lot of fans of the Hummer EV. I mean, that thing's a monstrosity. It is so heavy. Here in Australia, you wouldn't be able to drive that on a regular license. You'd have to have a truck license. The Chevrolet Silverado EV and the GMC Sierra EV added 7,428 and 1,788 units to the total. Chevrolet Silverado EV as well. Keep in mind that real world, 450 miles of range. That's pretty damn impressive. Then you've got the BrightDrop vans, which are pretty good. They delivered 1,529 BrightDrop vans. Now here's what GM's Rory Harvey said. He's GM's Executive VP and President of Global Markets. From my point of view, the automotive industry is driven by momentum. General Motors has momentum on its side. We showed strong momentum in electric vehicles. We have the largest EV share growth of any manufacturer. We have the largest EV share growth of any manufacturer. We have something for everyone, no matter what they like to drive. The Equinox EV is finding great reception and continues to break record after record in sales. Pretty sure he wasn't saying that in regards to global automakers, but I think he's talking about America here. Anyway, if he was talking about the world, then he's wrong. GM remains the largest automaker in the United States. In the fourth quarter, its EV market share increased to 12%. It's pretty good, but it does still mean that 88% of GM's cars sold in the fourth quarter were petrol, diesel, right? Gasoline-powered vehicles. Now, GM was the second best-selling EV manufacturer in the United States in 2024, behind Tesla, of course. But in 2025, Mary Barra did promise that GM would beat Tesla in the US. She promised it, I believe, on at least 18 different occasions on different talk shows. She even promised it on Oprah. So that's a guarantee. Mary Barra has guaranteed that that will happen. So I'm curious to know, if you're a fan of General Motors, do you believe that will happen this year in 2025? Other than that, there is some other issues that could, hinder GM's EV growth. Of course, if Donald Trump threatens 25% tariffs on GM's vehicles made in Mexico and Canada, then the Equinox EV and the Blazer EV will be tariffed by 25%. Plus, if Trump gets rid of the $7,500 tax credit, that will mean GM will no longer have the cheapest vehicle in America, and the Blazer could be a lot more expensive as well. I mean, 25% tariffs are pretty big. I don't know if he'll do that. He might not. Who knows? But it does seem certain he'll get rid of the EV incentive of $7,500, which is disappointing. Guys, what are your thoughts on how this is all going to play out? I mean, I honestly think it's really hard to know what Donald Trump will do. Will he put these 25% tariffs? If he does put them on Mexican-made cars, Canadian-made cars, particularly Mexican-made vehicles, that will hurt GM, because GM don't just manufacture EVs in Mexico. They make a lot of cars. So do Ford. They make a lot of cars in Mexico. They're the cars that they really profit on because they've made it a lower price than they are in the United States. So if Trump does go through with that, that will definitely hurt the company in 2025. GM, of course, along with Ford and Toyota, have all donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration. I'm guessing they're hoping he won't put those 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian-made vehicles. Let me know how you think this will all play out this year. It could go either way.